It's adorable.
Am I still in the shot or do I need to?
Yeah,
No,
you're good.
Beyonce's having
Okay,
twins.
audience ready?
Alright.
Yeah.
Hello. I affirm on the resolution that public colleges and universities in the U.S. ought not to restrict any constitutionally protected speech. I will define 3 words: freedom, free will, and public college and university. First, freedom. Freedom is a state of being free or at liberty rather than a confinement under physical restraint. My second word is free will, from an independent choice or a voluntary decision. My third word is public colleges and university. This means an institution of learning at the highest level, having liberal arts and a program of graduate studies together with several professional schools. These are all definitions from dictionary.com. The value of the debate today is freedom of speech is a constitutional right. This is important because as Americans we all have this right. This ties into the resolution because we will be debating if you should be able to use your right on the college level. The value of freedom of speech will be achieved by using our right as an American citizen and expressing our opinion verbally. My first contention is that it is part of the First Amendment in the United States Constitution. The First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise of religion restart. Congress shall make no respecting of an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. From uslaw/legalinformationinstitute.org. Now we'll talk about the Constitution itself. James Madison wrote the U.S. Constitution. He wrote it on September 17th, 1787 in Philadelphia Convention, now known as the Constitutional Convention, from constitutionalcenter.org. Freedom of speech is the very first of 27 amendments. If you write a document that the American government serves by, wouldn't you think that the very first one is going to be important? There she is. All right. It does not matter if you're a child, teenager, young adult, or adult, you have the right to speak your mind. My second contention is how freedom of speech is involved in college. College is supposed to be a place where you can say what you want and be rewarded for having an opinion. If you have a speech on gun control, you should be able to share whatever side you're on. I could give a speech on why I think Canada is better than Russia, why Floyd Mayweather is better than Conor McGregor, why popcorn is better than kettle corn, or why Minnesota is better than Wisconsin without being punished. In a court case in 1957 called Sweezy versus New Hampshire, the Supreme Court said, teachers and students must always remain free to inquire, otherwise our civilization will stagnate and die. The Association of American Colleges and Universities had a study in 2010 asking, is it safe to hold an unpopular position on this campus? 70% of the college seniors disagreed with that, with Gregory Kanoff. At Indiana University, a student employee was found guilty of racial harassment for reading a book that some of his fellow employees found offensive. The book was Notre Dame versus the Klan. That was found in the school library. It recounted and celebrated the fall of the KKK at the University of Notre Dame in 1924. So what did the university find offensive? The cover, which had the KKK in front of the university, from Gregory Kanoff. Time.com says, college campuses have no right to limit free speech, and it is our basic American right with no exception.
Would you like some prep time before process?
Yes.
3:20 left. Yeah, you keep looking up there, Tony, you're not gonna find it.
I just started looking, but I don't wanna look up that real specific word.
Alright, I'm good.
Look what up.
All right, you may begin. Stand up, both of you, please. Okay.
How many contentions did you have?
2.
Two? And then what were your sources for both of them?
I had Gregory Canhoff, I had Gregory Canhoff, and I had, one second, and then I had dictionary.com for definition, constitutioncenter.org, and U.S. Law Legal Information Institute.
And what do your sources do? How do they link to this topic?
They talk about, which one do you want?
The Gregory?
Gregory Canhoff, he works for Prager University. He is the president of Foundation for Individual Rights in Education.
Alright. And then you brought up a book in the library that was called Offensive. How is that a speech, or how does that have anything to do with this topic?
It was about a book that was found in the college library that,
Except for this is not about books, it's about a speech.
yes, but it was also about something offensive.
But
that
this
we
is not
found
about offensive, it's just talking about a speech that should be restricted, or should not be restricted.
And should that have been restricted?
It was a book, and you can't ask me questions during this time. That's it.
Is that
That's
good?
good.
Do you want more prep time?
Yeah.
You have 3 minutes left. $2:30 left.
Alright, I'm good.
Okay, when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Hannah, and I would like to start by thanking the judge for taking time out of their day to judge our debate. Thank you, and we appreciate this very much. Today I am negating the resolution in which states public colleges and universities in the United States ought not to restrict any constitutionally protected speeches. To clarify today's debate, I offer definitions from One Look and Oxford Dictionary. Due to my opponent not bringing up these, he concedes my following definitions for restrict, constitutionally protected, and speech. Restrict, to keep something within limits. That's from One Look. Constitutionally, relating to establish set of principles governing state. Oxford. Protect, shield from danger, injury, destruction, or damage. One Look. Speech, the mentally facility or power of vocal communication. One Look. My value for today's debate will be human dignity. The value of human dignity will be achieved by protecting the youth from permanently being looked upon as lesser than what they are. We should protect them by restricting all constantly protected speeches. This is important because letting someone so young speak so openly increases their chances of saying something that could later on in life be held against them. For instance, as a college student, you could have offended political officials, then later on in life decided you yourself want to become a political official. However, that speech you made at 20 could make your dream of becoming a political leader impossible. This ties back to the resolution because if there would have been restrictions on constitutionally protected speeches, that 20-year-old could have lived their dream and become a political leader. Instead, they split their opinion that changed as they grew up and they became more informed. Unfortunately, they were held back from their dreams. For today's debate, I have two contentions to bring to debate to prove that negating the resolution is the right decision. My two contentions are hate speeches and youth unawareness. My first contention I offer is hate speeches. It is important to restrict constitutionally protected speeches because it allows hate speeches to happen on campus. Over the years, verbal abuse and violence at the color of people, gays, and lesbians due to hate speeches on campuses. Many of the universities respond to such hate speeches with adopted new codes or policies, sorry about that, prohibiting speech that offers any groups based on race, gender, ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation. ACLU 2017. This is important because they're restricting college speeches. However, they are waiting for situations to get out of hand. They should prevent this from happening to everyone, including the speeches that could later on decide this isn't the real feelings or they were misinformed. This is simple. It's just simple, constitutionally protected speeches and saving their human dignity. My second contention I bring is youth unawareness. A brain doesn't fully develop until the age 45. The thinking process for those older than 25 and younger are not the same. Those younger are unable to think rationally because of the connection of their emotional part of their brain and the decision-making part of their brain. University of Rockford Medical Center, 2015. Thus, the emotional part can take over decision-making part of it, think it through. Although it takes one person to set someone off. Without even thinking about it, one person could offend an entire group of people with one speech. This is important because since the youth brain doesn't fully develop, they can't differ between whether what they are saying is what they really believe. My value of human dignity connects back to this because the emotional part is taking over them and making them look less educated than what they actually are. Therefore, you should negate today. Thank you.
Would you like time?
Yes, please. Okay, I have 2 questions. Okay, yeah. Okay, you said the brain development tests were done by Roxford.
Yeah, University Medical
How,
Center.
how would they do that test? How would they test the brain development? How many people would they bring in?
Probably elementary. I'm not aware of that.
Okay, how developed is a college student's brain? Do you know that?
No,
No?
I'm unaware.
Okay. That's fine.
It's not fully developed, is what I can tell you.
How close, do you know how close though?
Do you?
Can I ask a question?
Would you like prep time?
Yeah.
think on average. I'm above, some subdivisions, how's it average? What? Yeah, exactly. 2 minutes left.
Okay, alright. Alright, so, her first contention was hate speech. And freedom of speech is not, as an exception for hate speech. I have definition, or from CNN, Chris Como says, the Supreme Court has ruled out certain categories of speech excluded from the Constitution, protected, such as a threat or fighting words. Sometimes speech can be both a threat and hate speech, in which a case it would not necessarily have the First Amendment protection. So that takes out her hate speech contention. And then for her second contention, it was child unawareness and youth. Yep. So that would be the parents' job to educate your children and make sure that they're knowing what's acceptable and what's not in today's world. Yeah, that's what I
I'll go back to your own contention and
Okay.
explain why they're better than her.
have. All right, so it goes back to this. Keep in mind, this keeps out all of hate speech. That's not involved now. Yeah, you're able to say whatever you want because it is your right as an American since 1787 we've had. So you've been able, you can say whatever you want for free will. You go back to that definition that even if, as an example, if there's you watch a YouTube video on how to build a gun, it's your choice if you're going to build a gun. That goes with free will, that you're not actually having to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like your part-time?
Yeah.
But, okay, it's not gonna be Gallup poll. They figured it out, and they said the only person that can DT is, yeah. No, they should not. Oh, no, the spread was never that big. Nope, it was at most 4%, 11 at most. Sorry, Tony. Minute and a half left, Hannah. You just keep taking your time. You look it up. You look it up. You look it up. I'm telling you right now, the point spread was never that much. And Tony and I are debating whether or not Hillary had a better chance to win over Donald.
I can't think of why.
Most people said that.
And if you take a look at the popular vote, she did win.
Yeah, she did it with Pennsylvania, Michigan,
Or Wisconsin. Or Florida. Florida was actually the kick in the pants right there.
Yeah, Florida was like that.
She had that Florida too though.
Michigan and Pennsylvania were just bringing up that body.
I was so mad that Iowa was red. I was
15 points.
Usually pretty much against California.
What that means, right?
Donald
Like, it
Yeah.
went way down Trump.
Oh, I know. But it made me so mad. Did you do realize that he called Iowa a bunch of patriotic right?
He didn't call them, he did that as three parts, he just said that they were.
Oh, there you go.
Bizarre.
Sorry.
I do that all the time at like lunch.
There you go. Well, that just goes to show how idiotic Iowa is. Somebody calls us idiotic and we vote for them as a president.
Let's not forget that he didn't win the primary. Ted Cruz won the primary. And so a lot of people are just like, it's the lesser of two evils, and a lot of people did not like Hillary.
They just start walking down the hallway really fast.
I think Hudson is
You should make a video.
All right, time's up, Hannah. You are ready.
Today I will start by addressing the affirmative clause first. All right. The affirmative keeps on bringing up things that aren't actually related to this debate. For instance, the KKK book in the library, guns, and then YouTube videos. Therefore, he is saying that he doesn't actually know what we are debating. Another thing he said in his contention was age does not matter. However, age does matter because your brain is not fully developed until age 25. Now I will go back to my contentions. My contentions were hate speeches and youth unawareness. For hate speeches, he said that they were restricted because if they were threatening or fighting. However, there are tons that are not threatening or fighting. They are just speaking their opinion, but they're bringing on these huge groups that are just embarrassed that someone can do this, and then they're attacking other people. And then my second one is youth unawareness. And youth unawareness pretty much says that they're not able to think like a grown-up would, so they shouldn't be able to say speeches when they don't actually know what they're talking about, or they're unable to think fluently. And then his value was freedom in speech in the constitutionally right. However, human dignity is more important because it shows that you are able to think and you know how to show yourself as more than what you are instead of lesser, and you are educated. Therefore, you should negate today's debate.
Okay, good job. You wanna use your prep time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tony, are we going head to head on this?
Yeah.
Well, I believe with Luke said that we should get adults debating up there just for fun.
Miss Luke seemed depressed for a while.
What?
Miss Luke seemed depressed for a while.
Oh.
Who was it? Well, never mind.
I'll be more depressed if that Betsy DeVos, or whatever her name is, becomes Secretary of Education. Because she's terrible. I don't usually, I like political sparring, and I like being able to play devil's advocate, but with her, I can't. She's an idiot.
Who was the third party vote? I can't remember her name. Oh my gosh.
That's boxing.
Okay, Hillary Clinton now leads Donald Trump in the national polling averages by about 7 points. Not 98.
Every state in a lot of states.
7 points.
Just turned herself against
With every recent live interview, fortunately, her courts.
Yeah, so again, tell me how that's 98%.
Okay, I gotta go find that.
No matter how hard you try to prove her wrong, you just can't.
No, you can't prove me wrong. I often speak without
It's still
solid
difficult.
evidence.
I know you do, but you still get me every time.
I
No, you're wrong, don't even look it up, you're wrong.
No, I'm doing it.
You can try.
Miss Kennicott, has there ever been a poll that said Hillary Clinton was up by 98% or 94%? She was gonna win by 94%?
Oh,
I
heck
never
no.
saw that. I saw things that said the chance to win was,
98%?
or I don't know if it was all the way up to 98.
Alright.
Yeah.
She was winning by 50% in the first town where the election first took place. There was only 7 people that voted in that entire town of like 3,000. And 4 people voted for Hillary, 2 people
Ready?
voted for Trump, and 1 person voted for
Okay,
Biden.
last 3 minutes, make it your best, Jason.
Did you hear
Alright.
how,
She said that for hate speeches, that some are just reactions that aren't actually like fighting words or a threat. But if it's a reaction, that means they are offended, which means they took the action or the words as fighting words. So that takes that up. Second contention, I did not say that age didn't matter. In that sense, I said that age does not matter for your right to use free speech. As an American citizen, we all have free speech and we have a right to use that. Without free speech, we would not be able to have this debate today, and any other debate that we've had, or have any topics, discussions, like at the lunch table that we have, we would be able to have a lot of those. Locker room talk, you've heard Trump talk about that, we wouldn't be able to have that legally. Without free speech at a college that is a professional school at the highest level, that gets you ready for a career or a job, but you can't form your opinion. If free speech is restricted, you cannot form your opinion to what you really think, and that'll keep the world very one-sided and very bland if you all believe the same thing. I think I should win this debate because we all have this right under the First Amendment that we all need to take care of, so that way we can all use our right that does not involve hate speech, but just like every day, like right now, that we're using to our best ability.
All right, good job. Go on outside.
Should put her behind you, Mason.
Please do.
It was bugging me because I kept seeing multiple holes where they could attack each other.
I cannot believe that Mason, okay, like, this is one thing that I have to say. I cannot believe I think Hannah won because of one main reason.
Take a deep
Mason never negated what she said about him not knowing what it meant. He never addressed
yeah.
Not knowing what
That kind of drove me
Yeah.
nuts when she told him that.
Not knowing, she said, this proves that he knows nothing about what we're debating today. He never said anything, which means he concedes to that. He didn't know what they were debating.
Was he affirmative?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was he saying we should have freedom of speech?
Yeah.
Okay, when he said,
So technically, the KKK book does fall under freedom of speech, because speech is not restricted to just verbal. Communication is also in textbooks and things like
Like,
that.
what you wear on your shirt can be considered free speech as well.
So it's not just verbal, and he didn't defend that enough. That was a drop from him. Yeah.
I do kind of agree with
Um,
him though. Some
I
of his
believe
analogies.
that the affirmative should win, like Mason, just because he, like, for his contentions, he had, like, a lot of factual evidence for both of his contentions, and he got his point across very well, I thought. And the negative side, with hers, you could tell there was a lot more opinion rather than factual. So,
I feel like Mason, he had like a good thing going on, but some stuff he said had you reeling back a bit. Like, if you're fighting for, why would you bring up Donald Trump's locker room stuff? That makes me not want it. And then he kept bringing up analogies that could have worked if he worded it better, but he didn't.
his second rebuttal was better
Yeah.
than his first.
And it's not just the way you construct it, it's the way you let it out
Yeah.
to convince people. And he sounded so bored with the whole debate. Like,
I don't know about that.
And not only that,
I-
like,
I-
he
I-
may
I
have.
would- I would tend to disagree that he sounded bored.
He
To me,
didn't
he
quite,
sounded
I mean,
bored.
you could.
I do
in
think
his
he
rebuttal,
has more
that was
passion
funny.
within him,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
he'll
Hannah
find
was
it.
like-
Spencer,
I like the affirmative one because I think he had more proof to help his contentions because her second contention looked more like opinions.
When I'm looking back on my flow I just did, I see more holes in her argument than I do Mason's. But that's just me personally.
Her second.
can I just, I need clarification for my own. The first time I heard her talk about her second contention about youth unawareness, I heard 45.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
meant
And
20.
the
I meant
second
45 too. The
time,
second
Was it
time she said
45 or was it, and then I heard her say 25.
It's
No, she
25.
rebutted against Mason. She said, because she found it in the article, she said that at 25 they're like halfway there, like
Is it
with the
fully
brain
developed?
development.
Rebuttal, she said they're fully developed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody was 25 full development.
Yeah, okay. So I was just, for clarification purposes, I was wondering what that was. Alice,
I think some of his analogies were like a little short from a full box of crayons.
What?
I don't think he did a good job
Yeah.
explaining his
Yeah.
analysis.
And he didn't really negate a lot of.
I think,
I think he
okay,
did.
wait a second, time out. Out of all of the debates we've seen so far, this is the first time I have seen them bring up the other person's contentions and nail them. At least attempt to nail them. Okay, and as far as I'm concerned, he completely negated her first contention.
Agreed.
Completely. Because if you're gonna bring up hate speech, then you have to understand that that's not constitutionally protected speech. And that leaves her with one contention.
And it's the one that we were like, what?
Yeah, and it's, at best, we're questioning it. Okay? His analogies may have been weak, but his contentions were pretty darn strong. And she didn't do anything to really refute them, but, and this is where I'm playing devil's advocate with myself, she brought up why her value was better. She laid out why we need to vote for her a lot better than Mason did.
Yeah, her rebuttal was his second rebuttal was better than his first, but
Yes.
her rebuttal was better overall.
She never defined
Brian, what did
value.
you think?
I liked Mason's because I think he had, like you said, he went over her contention and completely got rid of the freedom of speech, or the
I feel like you got rid of the second one too, because she was saying that like, the youth isn't educated, but they should still have, then he said, well, they should still have the freedom of speech, not just like.
I did like, that was in his second rebuttal. I
I
did
think
like
that
when
the
he said
freedom of
that.
speech isn't
Yeah.
restricted to just
Brain
adults.
development.
Yeah.
The one thing that he didn't have going for him is the first rebuttal. I don't think he understood her second contention.
Yeah.
Because he said it's up to the parents to educate, and that's not what, that's not what her contention was. Her contention was that our brains aren't fully developed, and by restricting it, we're actually protecting your future desire, goals, whatever. Because as a youth, if you are like KKK all the way, but you've grown up in a sheltered environment, and then in college, your first year of college, you join a KKK rally and you put it on Facebook, but by the time you're a senior in college, you're like, whoa, what was I thinking? I wish I could go back and kick my freshman year butt. But your future employers see that you had been at that KKK rally, and it potentially keeps you from a job.
I felt like Mason was saying though that your parents should teach you what's like morally right, and that they should keep you from being
What laws do we have to enforce that parents have to teach your children to believe?
Some people
this?
don't have parents to teach them.
Yep,
They could be
that's
living in an orphanage.
Like Batman.
Well, okay, go ahead, Spencer.
I have a question. Did she ever define her value?
She did.
Alright.
Oh, that was the other thing. Mason's definitions, I have no idea why he defined freedom and free will. That has nothing to do with the resolution. Nor was it his value. His value, we talked about this yesterday, and I told him that he shouldn't be defining freedom or freedom of free will until he gets to his value, but he defined it first, and they didn't, I don't understand why he did that. I don't know if that took away from his speech at all, his debate at all, but I'm left questioning, much like some of the analogies that he didn't explain, why did he do what he did? Okay, Logan?
I do feel like he did make a lot of irrelevant, notions, arguments towards the topic, like the freedom and free will that had nothing to do with
Well,
the,
that was just the definitions. He didn't do anything else with it other than defining it. I just question why he did it there.
Maybe he thought he was gonna do something, but
Could be.
the parents.
Tony, what did you think?
Me? Oh crap, I was just looking up a bunch of stuff. Okay,
Still
so,
trying to prove me wrong.
yeah, actually I am. Okay, so, they did do it by percentages, but she was expected to
Okay.
win with 332 electoral votes.
So,
Okay, so I felt like, I don't know, like, I liked how Hannah was so, like, strong when she talked, like, know what I'm saying? Like, she was like,
Sassy.
you are wrong.
Yeah.
Like, she was sassy
Yeah.
about it. Especially when she, in the cross-examination, I was actually like scared for Mason. I thought she was gonna like punch him or
She's
something.
like, yeah, you can't tell me questions, I mean, ask me questions, I'm like, oh.
She asked him a question.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't ask me that.
I think they both used really strong language. Like Mason said the word obliterated.
Oh, yeah, that's a
I
good word.
obliterated your first contention.
It's like,
I thought Mason's like construct in the beginning was like his best part of his debate.
Construct.
Whatever.
Yeah, her construct also confused me a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
She had
I
better
still
time
don't know what
posting
it is.
than he did.
I was watching
She
a
kept on
lot.
talking.
But I was still able to follow his relatively easy. I don't know, this one's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough
This
one.
one, this
comes
is
down
what makes
I just
great
think
debates.
Terrence had more
They
holes
both
in it.
did like
They
really
both
good
did
job.
they both did.
They
Like
both
they
did
actually
really
like
good
point
jobs.
out each other's contentions.
So just by a show of hands, Sylvia, you can't vote. How many of you feel the affirmative fulfilled the burden of proof? And negative? Two.
I thought you were
What about you guys?
They
They
voted
voted affirmative.
Oh.
Does that help your decision any, Miss?
It confirms my decision,
Oh.
yeah.
Don't take them off.
If, this might be a case, and I'll repeat this when Hannah and Mason gets in here, but if you were to actually pursue like debate in a public, like in a competition setting, you can have a low win, a win with low speaker points, because you also get judged on how well you speak. And this might be a case, yeah, this might be a case where Hannah had better speaking qualities and more passion,
Yeah.
and she would have got more points for that, but he would have won the debate.
How many contentions do you
I remember that elementary school to say
say?
something about domestic violence.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you were here.
I know you guys really did not make it easy. You guys both did awesome.
Can we do a drum roll before the
Just say one over the other.
before you tell us who wins, can we do a drum roll?
Good, doing a drum roll.
And then we have to give you advice on.
Go ahead, drum roll it up.
Winner of the debate is the affirmative.
Oh, yeah.
So, the reason that I chose the affirmative, and we like went back and forth and kind of, I was listening to what everybody had to say. The thing that I put the most stock in was, is in your Mason, right? Your name's Mason. Okay. Is that Mason, kind of, what was the word he used?
Obliterated.
The, is it Hannah? Hannah's first contention about hate speech, because hate speech is not included in the Constitution as freedom of speech. So that's something, and also the books and T-shirts and lots of things are considered under the realm of free speech. So the book that he was referring to and what he used in his contention is actually free speech. So those were the two things that kind of really stuck out to me, and those were like the only two things that made it really kind of above, because Hannah, your rebuttals were kick butt.
Yeah.
Like, you did awesome in your rebuttals. And your cross-examination and asking questions and asking good questions was great. And what else was I gonna say? Yeah, I think those were the two things. And Ms. Lex was talking about the difference between speaker points and winning the debate. And I'll let you explain that, but.
In competitive debating, you get two grades essentially. You get who won the round and who was the better speaker. And oftentimes whoever wins the round gets all of the speaker points, because generally that's the case. There are cases, however, where someone will lose the round but be the better speaker. And this might be one of those cases where even though Mason won the debate, Hannah, the passion and the way that you presented the information was awesome. I mean, and so therefore you would get those speaker points.
Mason, you have it in you. You just need to find it.
Maybe you gotta wake up.
You just gotta pull it out.
Well, you can tell I was in a rush. Like, I got bright green shoes. I just threw stuff on.
So it's in there, and when because they're gonna do the public forum debates. So when I come back for those, I want to see that.
I look
That's
forward.
fair.
I will tell you that.
That's
Oh
fine.
no!
That's
When we
fine.
get to public forum debates, I'll tell you what a student did last trimester that was like, whoa, he's in it to win it.
Wait, are those the partner ones?
What?
Those, yeah.
Yeah, those are the partner ones. Okay, so feedback from the general populace. Couple things that I wanted to talk to you about. Mason, when I listened to your debate, your construct yesterday, I asked you the same thing. I'm not understanding why you define freedom and free will in your definitions, because it has absolutely zero to do with the resolution. Okay, if you're gonna define that, especially since your value was freedom of speech, it should be done when you define your value, okay? The contentions for both sides were really well done as far as making sure you had your source, making sure that you had an impact and you tied it back to your value. This is the first time we've seen that. The rebuttals, we actually had you going back and forth and making sure you talked about each contention. This is why it took so long to come to a conclusion about who was the winner, because you both really did a nice job of questioning, or of making sure that you talked about the other person's contentions and then extended your own. Hannah, I thought you did excellent signposting. Yours was easy enough to follow, Mason, but the way you laid it out, I'm gonna talk about his first and then I'm gonna talk about mine. And then in your rebuttal, you did a nice job bringing it back to your value, which was, and again, the language that you used, this is why you need to vote negative. You were very certain that you should be the winner, and that's half the battle.
That's why it was hard for me to choose differently.
Question that I have for you is, Hannah, when you were talking about youth awareness, I got what you were saying. However, you said two different numbers, and this is just for my own clarification. You said initially that a brain is not developed until you're 45.
I said 25.
The second time you
I
said 25.
heard two different.
You said 25 the first time
I
too?
wasn't sure.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, because I did not hear that, and I don't think other people in the audience heard 25. Did I hear 25?
I heard 45 the first time.
So did I. But yeah, excellent debate.
Yeah,
The
that
following
was
students
really
please
good.
come to bow.
Names on your
Eric
flow sheets.
Costello, Danny Raker, Brandon Beard, Kenny Beard, Isaac Conley, Bruce Stover, Billy Blocker, Nick Webenbeater, Reagan Dummer, Tanner Donahue, Ben Howard, Maddie